America is back.
A self-assured President Trump declared the first month of his second term the most successful in history.
Do you know who number 2?
It's crazy to me that all you got to do is just be confident and just talk shit up there, lie a bunch. Ain't nobody's going to check you. No pushback whatsoever from the Democrats in general. Okay. And the only pushback that they offer is like, why can't we have Ronald Reagan? Donald Trump would have sold us off to Soviet Russia. Like, it's great. It's fantastic. Let's see where this roller coaster takes us at this point, I guess. Just buckle in, strap on, and you know, it is what it is.
Who is George Washington? How about that?
He walked the nation through some of his most aggressive moves.
I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord. I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring. I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America.
As Trump ticked off the highlights, some ticked-off Democrats held up signs that said false. And some of his claims were false, including this one.
I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam.
That policy doesn't exist.
We ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate.
That policy also doesn't exist.
Joe Biden, the worst president in American history.
In a departure from tradition, Trump repeatedly slammed his predecessor.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control.
Yeah, it's Brandon. It's not the avian flu that your administration seemingly is perhaps the worst administration to deal with any sort of disease, but it's actually Brandon. He sabotaged the eggs, dude. Amazing. Fantastic. Wonderful state of affairs overall. I just don't think that people buy this. Do people buy this? I don't think they care. I think eventually they're going to be like, yeah, I don't care, man. Just fix it. That's it.
Many Democrats walked out.
The chair now directs the sergeant at arms to restore order.
Your uncle is repeating this? Yeah, that's the least surprising thing. There is something in the mind of uncles, okay? That's just uncle mindset. If we're being real, that is like, that your uncle has been struck by unk mindset, okay? Unk mindset dictates that you got to hand it to Trump at any given moment. If he says something, you have to agree with him, okay? Because why else would the president say something? That's just uncle mind virus, okay? Classic.
Green of Texas had to be escorted out because he wouldn't stop shouting about possible cuts to Medicaid. Billionaire Elon Musk drew jeers and cheers when President Trump plugged the massive cuts Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency have been making to the federal workforce.
The days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
The president also touted new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, but admitted there may be some short-term pain.
Tariffs are about making America rich again, and there'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
And he vowed there are more tariffs to come.
April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in, and whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them.
In a surprise announcement, Trump celebrated the arrest of Mohammed Sharifullah, one of the alleged masterminds behind the Abbey Gate bombing in Afghanistan that killed 13 U.S. service members.
And he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of America.
One of the easiest ways that people could have actively disparaged the argument that like Brandon killed 13 of our best soldiers, like 13 of our best soldiers died because of Brandon's like withdrawal from Afghanistan, was the simple fact that under the Trump administration, 67 service members died in Afghanistan over the course of the 4 years that he was president because he did not demonstrate the bravery of actually withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. 67. Okay? In comparison to 13, not a single troop should die, but obviously, you know, numbers on the board, one is worse than the other. So how is Mr. I'm ending all wars constantly harping on this, constantly talking about this over and over and over again, being like, oh, Brandon killed our best soldiers. Brandon killed our best soldiers. Brandon killed our best soldiers. Like, Lil Bear, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. But I still fault the Democrats for this, by the way. Yes, I fault the Democrats for being pushovers and not even being able to actively communicate a vision for why they're doing, actively communicate counter examples against the endless faucet of misinformation and a barrage of hatred coming from the Republican Party. So yes, I truly, truly believe that this is another part of the problem, is Democratic Party incompetence that has gotten us here. It's definitely something to remember and something to remind people. This is why I get mad when I say, I hate liberals. This is why I say, I hate liberals over and over again. Some people get confused with, like, especially if there's like a clip compilation where you put me yelling at liberals. Yes, I hate liberals for being feckless pushovers, okay? I hate liberals for not actively combating the faucet of misinformation coming from the right. That's it. I hate liberals when they behave like spineless cowards. I hate liberals when they turn around and capitulate to right-wing framing on issues. I want liberals to fight, okay? That's it. And you're basically watching what happens when they completely give up, right? You're watching what happens when liberals completely give up. This is the process. That's why I like Al Green. What he did last night was brave, okay? What he did last night was correct. And I think more Democratic Party representatives should behave in that way. That's what I think. That's what I believe. So yeah, even if I don't completely agree with everything that a politician is saying and doing, I will show them support if they're doing the right things, if they're moving in the right direction. One of your most effective messages on this is, I hate liberals because they don't hate Republicans enough. Exactly. I get mad at liberals for their closeness to the reactionary sentiment and the Republican policy. There should be more proximity between the two parties. And yet there is always room for bipartisan compromise. Not even on the virtues of the good side of the legislative agenda, but bipartisan compromise simply on the virtue of compromise alone. You know? It's ridiculous.
American justice.
On foreign policy, he vowed to seek peace in Ukraine.
Earlier today,
I should have said less proximity. I'm sorry. Did I say more proximity? I should have said less proximity. Apologies. I am, my brain is fried already.
I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine regarding the agreement on minerals and security. Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time.
He said he also plans to retake the Panama Canal.
We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
And he somehow plans to acquire Greenland.
One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Clocking in at 1 hour and 40 minutes, it was the longest presidential address to Congress in recent history. And it ended with this.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun.
Democratic Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan delivered a much shorter 10-minute response to President Trump's speech that painted a very different picture, criticizing his first 6 weeks in office as taking a reckless and chaotic approach.
Yeah. So the joint congressional speech, the joint session of Congress, and Trump's address was basically a rally. It was a political rally. We've heard it a million times over. Everything that Trump touches turns into a political rally in the exact same ways. And this was no different. I thought that in the process, there would be at least some new information that he revealed. But it turns out there was none. There was just more props. Trump loves using props. He loves using victims to draw a broad, oftentimes very reactionary, very racist concept, a very racist picture for Americans to understand. And it works. It's very effective. It is, of course, a distraction, but that is what Trump is very good at. He knows that people are angry. He knows that people are resentful. He knows that people hate the government because the government hasn't done right by them for multiple decades. Right? And there's no confidence in the federal government. So he turns around and uses that anger, that resentment, hyper focuses people's anger and resentment into, redirects that into other vectors of pressure. It's not a Honduran or Guatemalan migrant that is your landlord or your boss at your shit job that you hate. Okay? They are not sitting atop the board of executives at BlackRock. They're not the ones that are halting development so that there is no more additional available housing units that normalize the housing market in your city. It's not trans people that are responsible for your layoffs. And the Trump administration, and Trump specifically, is very good at moving your attention away from the people who do actually ruin your lives and back to vulnerable populations, your neighbors who have the same exact interest as you do. And that's precisely what he did last night, over and over and over again. And I think if the Democrats don't figure this out and actively communicate in the exact same way that I'm talking about these issues, I don't think Americans are going to recognize in their sea of resentment as conditions worsen instead of getting better under the Trump administration. Americans are not going to be able to recognize this reality and get more and more belligerent, more and more violent, and demand even worse, more violent punishments for these populations. It's that simple. I think exposing this underlying hypocrisy and exposing the true nature of the Republican Party, and specifically Donald Trump, is very important. And I wish that Democrats would do something, anything really. Except Democrats chose CIA agent, former Republican, Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan, who is a Zionist herself, to speak as the official response to the Trump address. And I watched it live last night, and I was very frustrated by the way that she communicated last night. There's also Jasmine Crockett, who I'm getting increasingly more annoyed with, but I don't want to say too much about it. Let's take a look.
I'm gonna get it on the floor. 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. They get on it like that. Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like buck. bust that on a beat, bro. Beat, bro, any rap, he a freak, though. Man down, call like Amber Lambs, tell him breathe. Let them boys to the cross, they walk around like G's. What's up with these?
I think this is so cringe, but apparently libs are eating this up. Kamala, AOC, Crockett 2028. Julia Fox, this is so important to me. America needs you, Jasmine Crockett. Do not stop fighting for us. I think that there is also, whatever, I love to see a black woman have fun. Yo, what are we talking about? Donald Trump is bringing about the end of a former era of American empire and making making the collapse of American empire more violent. Okay, instead of managing the decline and trying to take control, seize control over the reins of the wealthiest nation on the planet and move it in an appropriate direction, we are bouldering towards fascism. Okay, if you think that this is just like a congressperson having fun, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like this is unimaginably cringe. This is just like the most brat summer shit you could do. This plays really poorly to every single person that's not deeply invested in the maintenance of institutions and the defense of the Democratic Party. It comes across as tone deaf. People got mad during COVID at nurses that were dancing, okay? And those people were literally out there saving lives, and people were mad about the TikTok dances that nurses were engaging in every now and then, okay? I think this is just worse than that. Telling you, be careful of the liberal black misleadership class. These folks don't care about poor working class black people. Remember, this is not about race, but their class positions and their role in maintaining the system while selling out working class black people. Yeah, look, I'm not even getting into that. All I'm saying is I just think it's like tone deaf. I think it comes across as tone deaf. Like doing TikTok dances as the federal agencies, the administrative state is being gutted into oblivion is shocking to me. That's all I'm saying. I want more bold leadership from younger representatives, okay? Jasmine Crockett is a young representative. It's just like this kind of stuff just comes across as tone deaf and performative and silly. It's not a good look for her. It's a worse look for you. What? I don't know. If you're mad at her for dancing, I'm mad at you for having smoke for one of the few members of Congress doing literally anything. Please get a grip. Yeah. No, I think it's not going to happen. It's not. All right. No, we're not getting healthcare. No, it's cool. No, never mind. But also, black women do so much work, and honestly, leave her alone. I knew it. I knew that this was gonna. Yeah. I can't even say it's like cringe. I shouldn't have even brought it up. It's just so. It's not Jasmine Crockett's fault if we don't get healthcare because she danced. No, I'm saying. That's not the reason why we're not getting healthcare. The reason why we're not getting healthcare is because you're all docile little peasants. Sorry. That's why. None of you have the willingness to fight, and none of you have, or every single person that looks at that and goes, at least she's doing something, is gleefully standing aside as the American collapse is taking place. And you will all suffer in this process. We will all suffer in this process. Okay? And if you can't comprehend the point I'm trying to make there, I don't know what to tell you. It's not just Jasmine Crockett. That's just cringe. It's fine. The reaction to this performative dance piece overall is more frustrating to me than even the fact that she did the dance piece. The reaction you're getting is exactly why Trump won. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a part of it, for sure. But it's also the other part of it Because yes, people do despise black women in general and black people in general. So it's both sides of that argument that is the reason why Donald Trump won. It's both the fixture of white supremacy in American politics and how much of a formative role it plays. It's also simultaneously the fact that people respond to that in an unironically reactionary way on the liberal side of the process with the rad-lib nonsense to hollow out political movements and refuse to recognize that what we need is more Al Greens, okay? Your foul outrage at her is even more blatantly performative. Yeah, you're right. My outrage. I'm just saying it's... Thought you were joking about the fact that you get hit with her, misogynoir? No. No. Pussy hats, wearing pink, and holding up signs is not going to cut it. Do you understand? It's just not going to cut it. Also, simultaneously, like, not hyper focusing on new clip Hasan hates black women. Okay, please stop. Hyper focusing on first of all, the Radlib stuff that you guys are engaging with, nobody likes it. Okay, I don't like it. I've never actually allowed. I've actually never given that any sort of space whatsoever. There are valid criticisms, obviously, in terms of the social regress that we are experiencing. Okay. And that I talk about quite frequently, but using this as a performative shield is something that only works with an increasingly smaller group of people. And it just comes across as silly to everyone on the outside. But yeah, Krang had a really good point on this where he said, here's the thing, if you think Trump is a fascist like Hitler was, then you have to accept that this is a ridiculous thing to do. In response to Hitler's policies, some members of the German left party wore purple hats. Do you see how stupid that sounds? You bend down to Radlib shit so much more than they deserve. This brass summer politics of the Democratic Party is a major part of why the party has failed. Yeah. I want the Democrats to lock the fuck in. Okay. And that's what I want. I don't even want that. I need them to lock in. Yeah. Here. She says, we will not normalize, right? She sent this, she wrote this thing out. And there's good parts of it because this part is good. Where she says, I walked out because I want the president of my constituents to know I'm not going to sit here and try to shut down the VA hospital in my district. Great stuff. I'm not going to stand by while you short-staff the FAA. At the same time, planes are colliding in the sky left and right. Dallas Love Field is in my district. Dallas-Fort Worth International is right next door. Texas exports more goods than any other state, and we import more than 48 of them. Tariffs will cripple our economy, kill jobs. All this stuff is good. Okay? This is what we should be sticking to. Okay? This is what liberals should be sticking to. And become even more radical and urge labor militancy, urge unionization, urge networks of support, community organization. Our leaders need to actually fucking lead. Okay? That's what I think. And Al Green demonstrated that last night. He put his body on the line. He went out and he stated that you do not have a mandate. You do not have a mandate to cut Medicaid and Medicare. Okay? This is the point. This is what people should be saying every day of the week. This is what our elected representatives should be doing. Okay, so here's the good. The Democrats who hit Trump in his sore spot, bruising his ego and unquenchable need for attention, issued a joint statement. We, the undersigned and duly elected members of Congress, have to make ourselves heard in ways that breaks through times like these. There's no point in hearing Trump's speech because he never does what he says he'll do. All that stuff is good. President wants to erase the progress of the country's made since the Great Depression. All that stuff is good as well. Our forefathers defeated the Nazis. They laid down their lives in Korea, Vietnam, and during the Cold War to stop the spread of communism. Democrats need to drop the militancy and focus on labor militancy, okay? They need to stop trying to behave and present themselves as war hawks. It is so unimaginably stupid that they are doing this. Not only does this perform poorly for many Americans who personally think that war is bad, okay, even if they benefit from it greatly, but nobody believes you when you say this, okay? Nobody believes you when you, as a Democrat, say, like, that's right, we're going to be the real war hawk party. You just look like losers. Okay? Trump cozies up to Russia and China while turning his back on our allies and putting thousands of U.S. veterans on the street. He's rolling back laws and protect consumers in Main Street from the big banks and Wall Street. Yeah. It's great. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me, especially considering the election that was devastating for the Democratic Party recently, where they did exactly this. They did exactly this and they failed. So why are they still doing that? It makes no sense. Is it incompetence or is it deliberate? I do not know. I'm not going to make inferences. I'm not going to say it's deliberate. Stop being so smug. People do believe this. Stop being so smug. I'm not. I promise you. I'm trying not to be smug. Maybe it's because I'm wearing a turtleneck, so I automatically come across as smug. But I'm desperate. I'm sad. I want our elected representatives to actively combat this fucking psychopathic administration. It's just like what are we doing? You're hyper-focusing on the optics. Am I smug or am I autistic? I don't know. You called us peasants? No, I'm saying people that eat up this garbanzo are behaving with peasant mindset, okay? That's the truth. Sometimes people need a little bit of cold, hard truth, okay? Notice how the overwhelming majority of chat didn't assume that I was talking about them. It's people that actually do feel like this is the appropriate measure of response to Donald Trump, the best way to do it. Anyway, we're hyper focusing on the optics of a TikTok vid. Yes, I am. And I'm also pairing that up with the optics of Al Green's response. Al Green's response is good. I'm showing you what I think is a good way to react to the ridiculous things that Donald Trump is doing. Okay? That's why I showed both sides of the spectrum. Here it is. I said every Democrat should be exactly like this. Respect to Al Green. Al Green went out there and made his voice heard. He made news. He made news in a disruptive way. He brought incivility to the deliberative body. And it was a good thing. He broke decorum. And the reason why he did that was because he wanted to be heard. What did he do? What did he do in that process? He got up there, waved his cane around, and said, "You do not have the mandate to cut Medicaid." That was the appropriate thing to do. Here is his reaction. It's very low audio, but
Incivility, who uses his incivility against our civility. He is a person who has consistently been used incivility against civility.
Do you think it was no mandate? Is that what you said?
Well, look, I'm willing to suffer whatever punishment is available to me. I didn't say to anyone, don't punish me. I've said I'll accept the punishment, but it's worth it to let people know that there are some of us who are going to stand up against this president's desire to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security.
Were you saying you have no mandate? Is that what you just said?
That's what he has no mandate to cut Medicaid. None.
Is the only punishment that you were kicked out, sir? Is there something?
I don't know. Whatever the punishment is, I'm not fighting the punishment. This is about the people who are being punished by virtue of losing their health care. This is the richest country in the world, and we have people who don't have good health care.
yeah.
We've got to do better. And now we're about to cut Medicaid, which is for poor people. Health care has become wealth care for many people, and we can't afford to let that happen.
Is that the only thing that you're protesting?
No, I have other things I'm protesting.
Cheering on dance TikToks in response to a fascist takeover reads as much more smug and elitist than anything you're saying. I don't know why Dems can't show a somber, serious attitude in the face of this awful admin that's just getting started. I want Dems to be angry, sad, and make a fucking plan. Exactly. That's it. That's literally my argument. I think it's infinitely more smug and out of touch to just be like, oh yeah, we're dancing through this problem. Like, you can't check out, okay? You can't just be like, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just, you know. Is holding up a sign more effective? No, I don't think so either. I mean, even Rashida Tlaib was doing that as well, but I don't think holding up a sign is effective in that regard either. I think they have to be more disruptive. I think Democrats need to demonstrate messaging discipline on this stuff. This is a perfect demonstration of what it looks like when you actually start implementing these devastating austerity measures, okay? Gutting the administrative state, advocating to cut Medicaid. Like, these are horrifying legislative or sometimes executive actions that the admin is currently taking. Every single day of the week, they should just be showing everybody, here, I have behind me 500 workers that are laid off. Bring them forward. Be like, hey, here it is, okay? They've laid off, the Republicans laid off 400 FAA positions, okay? 400 people from the FAA at a time when planes are falling out of the sky. Go to the goddamn rubble of a plane crash and bring the FAA people that were laid off and be like, see, they laid these people off. This is the impact. That's what Trump does. That's what the Republicans do. There is no low that they will go to. They will stop themselves from reaching. They do that. They already do that. They straight up will just be like, look, this is a person who is the sister of someone who was violently raped and murdered by an undocumented migrant. Okay? This is why we have to deport all undocumented migrants. Like, what are we doing? People obviously respond to this kind of propaganda. The counter to that is to show the tens of thousands of undocumented migrants that are working tirelessly to pick your goddamn strawberries and shit, okay? To be like, these are normal ass people. They all deserve the proper documentation. They're all Americans. They're what make this country great. Vilifying them is inappropriate, wrong, cruel. That's what they should be doing. In terms of the FAA firings, the Republicans' response to that will be, none of them were directly in the safety inspection side. Okay, but they fired the people that work with the safety inspectors. They fired the technicians. They fired the mechanics. When you fire support staff, you are still undermining the regulatory body and their effectiveness. That's it. It's the same dumb shit that Karen Bass was presenting after the Los Angeles wildfires, where she was like, oh, we didn't fire firefighters. We just lowered the budget a little bit. Yeah, you lowered the budget for the mechanics. And what do you think happens when you lower the budget of the LAFD? Okay. When the support staff is not there, what happens when a fire engine gets dinged up? It just sits in a goddamn graveyard for months on end, not getting repaired. All of a sudden, that fire department is down one, if not two fire engines. They are no longer as effective at combating fires. This is how it works. That's it. These guys are getting away with straight murder. The Republicans are doing everything in their power to destroy the regulatory agencies that are basically hanging on by a thread. And absolutely no one is using this as an opportunity to communicate to Americans that the federal government is there to actually help you, okay? The problem is the federal government is working when it's invisible. All of these regulatory agencies are invisible when everything is good. They're only visible when things fall apart. We must not let it get to that point. It's not murder. What? It's cold-blooded murder? Okay. Like, Donald Trump is such a freak that he had like some random girl that got slammed in the face with a volleyball to be like, this person was going to be an Olympic athlete. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I saw her. I don't think she looks like she was going to be an Olympic athlete. Okay, no disrespect, but goddamn, you know? Like, what is this loser shit, too? We just have this, like, incredibly loser shit. This incredibly loser mentality. We got Riley Gaines in there, who is famous for just getting dominated by cis women. And then the one time where she tied for 5th place with a trans woman, oh my God, she got a blossoming career out of it. It's crazy to me. Yeah, it's also funny that, like, this is Rapid Response 47, okay? 19-year-old Peyton McNabb was severely injured by a man during a volleyball game, left with a traumatic brain injury after he spiked the ball against her head. President Trump was proud to sign an executive order to keep men out of women's sports. And then they post this, not realizing that this, like, literally undermines the argument. Look, they're like, yeah, that's... Like, I can't believe it. Like, this is what we're doing? Like, cis woman or trans woman, doesn't matter, okay? Anyone that gets spiked in the head like that, they're cooked. What are we doing? Are we acting like sports now is just like these sorts of things don't happen in sports all the time? It happens thousands of times a year. The only reason why this is being presented as like something, an issue of national significance, is because it was a trans person on the other side of the ball. Okay? It's just idiotic rage bait. I don't know how else to describe this. Like, oh. It's so utterly irrelevant. I cannot explain this in any other way, shape, or form. I genuinely don't know how people don't recognize how much of a fucking weirdo crybaby Republicans are being so prominently. Yeah.